There have been a few or more updates to our spatial viewer, particularly in the way that layer management is handled. So I'm going to run through those now. And you can access the spatial viewer from any of the different spatial applications, whether that be looking at the spatial data from a document, or accessing the georeferenced images, or from our shapes. So I'm just going to do a search for the Baigu project in New South Wales because I've loaded up some georeferenced images in that area for the purposes of this demonstration. And I'm just going to jump to the spatial information associated with one of the documents from that search. So now that I've got the spatial viewer open, I'm just going to blow this up to full screen to make it easier to see. Because I've accessed it from a shape associated with a document, it's got the information associated with that shape. I'll just close that off, but it's got the location of where that document's come from. Now, over on the left-hand side, you'll see the new menu functions, and to add information to this map, we can just click on the little magnifying glass, and then we can add in any information we want. Now, you'll see immediately that a list of georeferenced images has appeared on the left, and that's the ones that are within this map area. If I zoom in, you'll see that list gets slightly smaller, as some of the images then are no longer within the area on that map. And if I zoom out, we'll add additional images to the list. So let's just go zoom in to a medium sort of level. And then I'm just going to load up some of those images. Now, I could do that by loading all of them, which is probably the easiest way. So let's do that. I'm just going to click on Load All. I could type in the name of an image into this box here and load it that way, but it's easier if you know they're within that map area. You can just load them like that, like I have done. So they're all now loaded into that view. So I've got multiple georeferenced images. I'm also going to add in some tile overlays from the general database. So I'm going to add in the Australian mineral tenements, and I'm also going to add in the New South Wales drill holes. So we can see those there. So everything has now been loaded into the same map. Now, from any one of these images, I could zoom into the extent of any of the particular georeferenced images. So if I was interested in this geology map, I can just click the little spatial pin, and as you can see, it says zoom to the layer extent, so it'll zoom into that particular map. If I look for the historic drill holes one, it'll zoom in a little bit further. So let's just zoom out a little bit. I can also adjust the opacity of any one of these images. So the drill holes, I could increase or decrease the opacity with that. Same with the tenements, just to take those down a little bit. And then the layers themselves, the georeferenced images, I can adjust the opacity with those. I could remove some of them, and I can also change the order of them. So, I could bring the geology map below the magnetics map, and then if I just reduce the opacity of that and increase the magnetics one, you'll see, so let's just get rid of this geology map here, and then you can see even if I bring the opacity of that one up to full scale, you can't see it because it's behind the magnetics one. So it's probably better off to have them the other way around. If I zoom into one of these, the drilling plan one, I can zoom in. That's a very small image, so you can see the one in the background is a little bit blurry because it's a much lower resolution image, or over a much wider area. So I can adjust, I could adjust the opacity of the background image. Let's get rid of the geology one and reduce the opacity of the magnetics one. That one's actually out of in a different area. I can do the same thing with the mineral tenements. So I could reduce the opacity there. And then you can also see I've also got my organization shapes behind there as well. So one of the shapes overlays that area. I can reduce the opacity of that so I can see through it a little bit better. I can then zoom in. One thing that you can do now with this layer management is edit the georeferenced images, which you've not been able to do before. Previously, once you'd saved them, they remained as is. You could just have to delete them and re-georeference them. Now you can actually edit them. So I could edit this drilling plan image, and if I wanted to move that a little bit, I could do. I'm not going to save that in this case because it was in the correct location before. And then the other thing, if I go on to the little tools tab, map controls, I can also remove or add in the organization saved images and the result layers for the search that I did. So if I just zoom out a little bit, I've got the white box for the spatial area of the document that I was looking at, so I can take that out. I have my organization saved shapes in there. If I can switch those off or on. And so you can see there's a great deal more flexibility in what you can do now with different layers in the spatial viewer. And as I say, that's exactly the same whether I access the way I've done there, or just to show you, it looks exactly the same if I go into my shapes and quickly zip down to add a new shape. I get the same spatial viewer. So I can also go in and add in, if I zoom into an area, and let's just choose the same one, zoom into an area, I can then load the shapes that are in that area. So just goes through them one at a time, loads them all in. And there we have all the shapes that were in that particular zoomed image. So much more flexibility in abilities to load up multiple georeferenced images and edit them along with other layers and shapes.